now present a check of 80 million kina to the independent state of Papua New Guinea, which will be received by our own treasurer and witnessed by our Prime Minister, Hon. PM Marape. God bless Papua New Guinea.
I can't help but recall your words, your very kind words, dividend after dividend. Minister, I look forward to many exchanges with SOE after this. And you've surprised our country, you've surprised Treasury. This 80 million kina exceeds the budgeted figure by something like 400%. So well done, Minister.
Thank you.
SOE.
Like the good treasurer said, the budget was 20 million. We're now presenting 80 million kina. And when these sort of things happen, when you have very professional and competent CEOs supported by their own boards, and more importantly, when you have a Prime Minister who does not come down and interfere with his own minister's work. When the Prime Minister of the day gives you free rein and trusts his minister, this is what can be achieved for our country.
This is a small but significant symbolic occasion where state-owned enterprises must be making money while serving our nation nationwide. Most of our SOEs since early 10 of this millennium, since 2002 or 2001, when we were rebranded into state-owned enterprises, should have been making money, but many factors come in between. Despite you running monopoly, PNG Power is the biggest monopoly, PNG Water is the biggest monopoly, Air New Guinea is the biggest monopoly, or operating that duopoly sort of setting right now, but it covers substantial part of the market. Telecom covered substantial part of the market until diesel came in and took away 800 million kina of customer spending every year, and you are still operating below 100 million kina turnover. And as far as profit is concerned, you see telecom against diesel just showed that PNG are spending in those key essential spending sectors. So instead of making money, we've been operating the status quo. I don't believe in everything Albert Einstein says, but some of his lines are relevant. And one of his lines goes like this: doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results, borders on insanity. We've been operating on the same modus operandi, so to speak, for so long that has caught us in the quagmire of non-productivity. Most of our SOEs have been operating in a public service mindset instead of in a business mindset. But I just want to appreciate the turn of events. And it's just not myself doing it, it's the whole team. It's a whole team. Speaking policy and direction belongs to Prime Minister and the combined collective vision of the parties at running government. But translation of those vision into actual workable strategies really falls down onto sector ministers, as well as those of you who are placed in responsible positions in the entire structure. And let me say thank you to each and every one of you in KCH, from the minister down to the chairman and subsidiary chairmen, to the mother company MD and the subsidiary MDs. Sincere on behalf of our people, let me appreciate the first ever return on dividend since 2015. Lest we forget Papua New Guinea, we are marching off every now and then. My government continues to clean up legacies of past. Legacies of past, especially legacies of the last 8 or 9 or 10 years. Coming out of surpluses in 2009, 2010, 2011, and in 2011 entering into construction dollar or construction kina economy of the PNG LNG. Coming into 2014, first guess in 2014, instead of posting growth, we've sank ourselves into an economic mess. 2015 was the last time KCH ever declared a dividend, yet we were producing PNG LNG. for those of you who like to write on newspapers, to investigate why those were so, as far as us not returning dividend for those years where we should be posting healthy, positive economic growth. 2015 to 2019, the environment is and was not similar to what we live into today. We were in a positive growth time, yet SOE was in a sinkhole. Our economy was going downhill. And when we came into office in 2019, we never saw COVID-19 in 2020. We never saw the Ukraine war in 2021. But we clearly saw the economic mess we were in. We clearly saw the economic mess we were in. Our pronounced debt was, in the books of 2018 budget, was at around 26 billion, 27 billion. But in a due diligence established not just by Treasurer Ling-Stuckey or Marape, but by a team we pulled together in our national interest to establish exactly where our economic position was. Established at 32, 33 billion, excluding the areas we were carrying in the books. Excluding the areas we were carrying in the books. Outstanding contracts that we are still paying off today for the roads you live in and drive in the city that Mr. O'Neill claims to have built, for the interventions that have made around the corner, courthouse, 4 billion outstanding debts we were carrying. So the total inherent national debt we were carrying in the economy built up to 39 to 40 billion. Our affordability range was unsustainable. And the total national debt translates across to even the state-owned enterprises. The unnecessary burden of Kumul Petroleum that was passed on, the 4 to 5 billion kina debt of UBS, for instance, as a case in point. So we were weak all over the place. Our fundamentals were really, really shaking. And when we came on board in 2019, I did not pronounce that I am the master rocket scientist of the economy. I had no individual skills. Treasurer had no individual skills. We had to be open and transparent in the first instance. We asked ADB to look into a book because they had a stake in our economy. We invited IMF, world benchmark of economies, to come back, eroding our national pride, and said, come back and have a look in our economy. Together we see. We asked others who were stakeholders in the economy to come. And as we all looked into our national economy, realizing we were very vulnerable, an important point of reference was reform in SOEs. Reform in SOEs. And we embraced a collective view that SOEs need to have some fundamental reform. And they were not big reforms. Basic reform like appointments on merit instead of one-talk appointments. It's taking up boards with right people, including women. Today on record, my government is proud to say that there were more women present in our SOE board than ever before. The financials of all our SOEs must come in on time. And Minister Duma just alluded to. Both the qualified and unqualified reports must be correct, coming in on time. Appointing people on merits, restructuring, and our SOEs really running our companies as business and not as public servants. And so IMF and ADB and World Bank and Australia, the support programs, including our Treasury and SOE, had clear guide as to how we would reform our SOE. And today, speaking 3 years, going 4 years now in the office, we're starting to see some result. And today, 80 million kina to be returned in a very hard year. And Treasurer just alluded to, we have not come out clearly from the headwinds in as far as economic turbulence is concerned. Papua New Guinea is a small economy being exposed to global economic shocks. And mind you, Ukraine and Russia war, for instance, caused global inflation to average at 9 to 12%. We made interventions so that our inflation do not go past that global average, but it was curtailed at around 6%. And those were things that we did, and part of that was to ensure SOEs were functional. And I just want to thank Minister Duma for his strong leadership. As I did make mention earlier, in my talk of potential cabinet ministers. Exposure and experience and depth of retrospective history. I don't have luxury and abundance of those sort of candidates in my cabinet. Minister Duma has been around five, now going fifth term now. And I asked him, we will pass on all state-owned enterprises into a one ministry operation. One thing I ask of you, stick to the reform plan, deliver profit, make sure it's functional whilst we maintain the balance of community service obligation for power and water into non-profit areas, core. If we sequence it proper and get it working, you would deliver some return on investments. And ADB has given great support at this juncture, let me say, under his watch and Treasurer, we've secured specifically targeted financials to make jumpstart sort of intervention in power businesses, our water businesses, our telecom sector. ADB, let me at this time pause to say thank you very much to ADB for responding to us and giving us substantial money. Some of the spending are not for political expenditures. Power keeps the economy functional. Water keeps the economy functional. Telecom business keeps the economy functional. Investing in SME focus with our state-owned banks keep the economy not just functional today, but more importantly, sustained for the long run. So going forward next year, we will fully empower KCH to make sure that not just 80 million kina that is returned, but greater return comes back. Because really you have no excuses. You run the biggest monopoly in these places. Time for you to run in the public service mindset is over. Move with us or you'll be left behind, to all our chairmen and all our MDs. You've started a good work. I repeat, move with us or you'll be left behind. But we don't want to leave you behind, especially at the management level. Especially at the management level. And good signs that have emerged in telecom. Telecom now returning some dividends. I see good signs emerging in water PNG. I see good signs emerging in Air Niugini. And I'm also seeing good signs in PNG Power, but much work needs to be done there. I had to ask Paul Flagenberg, and I'm just using it as an example. I am a Prime Minister who knows the details of everything that happens in my sectors in this country. I sleep at 2 o'clock every morning because I read through what is happening. Just because I don't beat a chest in newspaper every day, doesn't mean I do not know what is happening. I am not an economic imbecile running this country. I know exactly what happens. Mr. Paul Flagenberger, the former MD, came in. We hired him for a purpose. I asked him one simple question. Where is the savings? As you shut down Moitaka and you shut down Kanudi, where is the savings from this? You're not paying even the gas-fired power. He was lost. He had no answer to that question. Well, he lost his job. And I'm not a cruel person. Minister Duma is not a cruel person. But we thank the occasion today. There is more room for profit and performance improvement. 80 million kina, well done KCH for this. Papua New Guinea, hard plus 3 per year, you'll make in Slovak, or hard plus 1 per year. When the whole world is not making profit, KCH is making profit. We should not be just criticizing all the time. Speak with solutions and say thank you when thank you is deserved. Commendation when commendation is deserved. At this point in time, Minister Duma and your team, Chairman, MD, and every one of you down the strata of KCHs, we say thank you very much for this dividend declaration. Our government also in 2020, for the first time since 1975, has a clear dividend policy. 60% of what is being declared comes to the Waigani public accounts, where the roads and bridges and carrying our country is being run. 40% is retained, 10% for running of the companies, 10% for community programs. We work with the Council of Churches, and the Minister for Churches are sitting here. 10% is really quarantined as a sort of a tight gesture to all our Christian churches in our country for them to run. 13% for savings for future investments, so that they don't come and do another, we don't do another UBS type structure or IP type structure into the future. We have savings by KCH in a saving portfolio, that is used for KCH future reinvestments. And 7% is designated for sovereign wealth fund. Much talk about sovereign wealth fund as we've been talking about in the past, but we have not been investing in this space. So today, part of this occasion, I am really, really happy that the mother of all our state-owned enterprises, the Kumul Consolidated Holdings Limited, is now leading by example, and 7% of their declarations will be passed on to a sovereign wealth fund structure that finance, KCH and PM's department will hold as trustee until we set up a sovereign wealth fund structure that will work forward. That sovereign wealth fund structure could be eventually a backbone working with our super funds and others in the saving environment in our country to underpin our economic resilience as we go forward into the future. So for the first time historically ever, 7% of this declaration is also will be passed on as money for sovereign wealth fund, and that will be the first seed planted into our sovereign wealth fund for generations to come into the future. And we are making savings in tough times. We're not making savings in good times. There have been many surpluses of the past where savings were not made. Today, in first, and Treasurer was not detailed in his explanation. He will do so in possibly in the budget time. Today, this fiscal year possibly will be a year where we will see a little bit of surplus for the first time in as many years that we've seen. And operating in that sort of environment, KCH is now historically giving a little bit of money for our sovereign wealth fund. And if we systematically build together into the future, I look forward to seeing our sovereign wealth fund being built into a 1 billion, 2 billion kina facility in 10 years, 15 years from today. Hands up those of you who are alive 10 years ago. Everybody was alive 10 years ago. Well, if we had saved something like what KC is doing today we would have about 1 billion kina in our sovereign wealth fund structure. So let's not just talk about eating. Let's get into the business of doing something for the future. And I want to thank KCH for your wisdom in being the leader and mover and ensuring that our state-owned enterprises respond to the dividend policy that we've established, and 7% of what is made in this financial year being transferred into a sovereign wealth fund structure we will set up. Well done, congratulations of the highest order. My apologies for speaking a little bit strong to those of you who operate our state-owned enterprises. Don't think public service. Think and run like a private sector. We are working to ensure that those of you who are employed in those sectors, you work more, you get remunerated better, you're compensated better, but the earnings are passed on to our country, whether it's dividend or a better service to our people. Thank you too much. Well done. It makes my heart warm to know the reforms we put in place. Starting to work. Don't expect miracle overnight. No angel will come down from heaven to do this job. We are here placed for these sort of moments to do the job for our country. Thank you.